Hello, my name's Timothy Douglas. I'm the Head of Policy and Campaigns at Propertymark, and I'm joined today by Mike Hughes, a Propertymark commercial member. We're going to talk about two pressing issues affecting commercial property agents and the commercial property market. So Mike, I think we're through the pandemic, but a key piece of legislation affecting commercial agents was the Commercial Rent Coronavirus Act. Came into force on the 1st of April, and I suppose it was the UK government's intention to introduce forced arbitration where outstanding debts overlying from the COVID period were still in play. What's been the impact of that?
Well, I think one of the things it's helped is it's made landlords and tenants think, well, we need to get this sorted because we don't want to go to arbitration because of the costs for both parties to go to arbitration. And in my experience, I haven't seen one thing go to arbitration, although it is still early days because it only came out on the 1st of April this year. And most of the people I'm talking to are therefore agreeing the rental, back rent, etc. And it's making it much better for both parties because a lot of the landlords want to keep the tenants in there, and the tenants really want to stay with their business. Hopefully when we see an increase in the next 6 months, 12 months after the pandemic. Sure.
So essentially only the real extreme circumstances, anything that's outstanding.
Yeah, it's really, it's people will have fallen out pre the 1st of April where I think these are going to happen when they've not been talking to each other all the way through the pandemic, and there's no way they can start talking now, and that's where it's going to go to arbitration. But it helps us as agents if we can keep talking to both landlords and tenants, because if they can find a solution to this, it's much easier to let or to sell a property where there hasn't been a surrender or some other issue with the property which will taint it a little bit.
Sure. I think moving on, the UK government have had big plans for levelling up the country, regenerating towns and cities. We had the Queen's speech on 10th of May. We've seen a levelling up and regeneration bill introduced into Parliament. And I suppose a key thing there for commercial agents is this focus on high street rental auctions. As we understand it, if a commercial property's been vacant for more than a year, 2 months' notice is then provided. There's an opportunity there for the landlord to produce a signed lease. If a lease can't be brought forward, the local authority will be involved in creating a final rent auction notice, and then there's a 2-month auction period window, as it were, in order to try and get those premises filled. What's your initial response to that?
Well, there's a lot of information we need to find out, but that's going to obviously come in the bill. But as you've just explained, there's areas there that as commercial agents we can react, and one of them is being able to find tenants for vacant properties for landlords, also being able to discuss what sort of lease can be put in place. If you can get a lease signed up, then the property won't go to auction. And then if it does go to auction, advising on the guide price of the property so that it goes to auction at a level which is fair to all sides.
And is that 2-month period for an auction enough?
Well, it sounds very short, as everybody knows with regards to commercial property. These things can take very long, but that's what we've got to work with, and it does need to be heated up a little bit to make sure that people do things. Maybe if it was a year, that might be a bit fairer, but then there'd be people who would use that and nothing will get done for 11 months and it'd be a rush in the last month. So 2 months is where we are, and we've got to work with that. But as I said previously, we need to know a little bit more detail, which is what's going to come out in the actual bill.
Great. Thank you very much, Mike, for those reflections, and Propertymark will continue to dissect these issues and support our members going forward.